Hi, so I was looking at a story, um, and I just couldn't, for some reason, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I know it's already happened and it's over with, and it happened, several days ago, a couple of weeks ago, but I just wanted to say how sad it is because I'm just kind of adding on to what a lot of people have been responding about this crime that happened online on Facebook Live. A woman had pretty much, I guess, from where the way I heard it and the way I saw it is she did a social media post about a man that she had an encounter with, and more than an encounter with. And apparently, this guy, she caught him in the act with someone he was involved with intimately. And then there was a blackmailing that happened afterward. I believe that because of what she had seen, because the man was LGBT, a gay man, that she pretty much said that if you give me $5,000, I'll keep my mouth shut. And so she posted it all over social media, or I'll say all over social media, because once you put, a video out, such as that type of video, many people, you intend for many people to see and view it. And social media is very good for that. You put one video out talking about something that happened in the neighborhood, and everybody, if they know you or they're familiar with you or your neighborhood, everybody pretty much sees and hears what's going on. And so, first of all, this is an opinion video. So I just want people to realize, I don't know these people personally, but from my experience with something similar like this, for one, I noticed that social media is a really great tool to find people who are either involved in crime or about to commit crimes, or there's crimes that are unsolved and they might could go on social media and find out through people's accounts, their posts, and find out what they have to say, if there's a motive behind, their killing. And what I found to be very scary about this whole thing is that basically when I was looking at the woman's video, it was 17 minutes long, and so I'm not going to replay it and reshare the video, because I'm sure by now a lot of people who, if they're aware of what happened to this woman, probably seen it, and I'll let you go and look at the video on your own. Some people have been sharing the video, but I felt that it was really chilling because I felt she basically not only outed these two guys that happened to, I guess they happened to be in the act of intercourse or sex, but I also feel she probably revealed who could possibly be her killers. Um, Now, what makes it a lot of confusion online is that some people were siding with this woman's situation in empathy over her death, and then you have another group that was pretty much looking at it from outside and saying, well, we don't know this woman, but what we've heard is that she had multiple enemies because she had a knack for taunting people online, and she had mentioned other people in separate incidences on her social media posts that she had had confrontations with. So that's what makes it harder to really pinpoint who her killers were, because she had other enemies. But what I'm saying is immediately what was going on right then and there, the most recent incident that she had might point to a strong indicator of who possibly could have murdered her or shot her, because that's the way they're treating this whole incident. And so I just want to put that in perspective. I understand where people are coming from, but what I wanted to say in terms of going back, I digress about my experience with this type of stuff, is that I'll be honest, I myself have um, known people in this community of people who are LGBT individuals, and I'm not going to say this to make it sound really bad, but I will say, now this is coming from a personal thing that I've observed. It seems like the relationships are really, really intense. I'm going to say that. The relationships are very sensitive. They're very intense because for the simple fact that you have all of this, if you look at the way the world is, you have a lot of people that will come against people who are gay or they're lesbian. And so those relationships, when they do form, or when there are relationships in that arena or that circle, those relationships are extremely intense and sensitive because of the fact that you have so many people that are against you. And so what I've learned is that, in having my experiences going to functions or being involved with people that I've known that have been in that community. For example, there's religious services, there's organizations, there's groups, there's meetings. And what I've known, one time I went to this gathering, and it was supposed to be like a Christian gathering. And what I learned is that as soon as I went towards the door, I was greeted by these two males, and one male looked at me like, "What are you doing here?" And the other one, he kind of like peered down and low with his eyes, and I could see that like he had eyeshadow on, and it was supposed to be a public function, so I'll let you know. And so he had that same glare in his eye, like, "What are you doing here?" And so apparently I learned later on, I had already began to walk through the door of this gathering. This was several years ago. And so I wanted to see what this place was like because I heard a lot about it at the time, but now it has relocated since then, many years ago. And so I heard that the music was really good, the services were really good, and that it was an all-inclusive Christian church. And it was way before they started having all of these laws and all these issues about LGBT people, that this particular organization was welcoming to the gay community as well. But in the beginning, when that organization had started, it wasn't as widely um, publicized, should I say. And so, from my experience, what I had is that once I went inside, it was a sense of, where you weren't felt made to feel like you needed to leave, but you were aware that there were people there that mainly were in the LGBT community, and that they had been pretty much ostracized. And so a lot of the services really were very, very how would I say, informing, and they coincided with a lot of ostracizing of people who are different, or people who didn't fit in their own community or their own ethnic background because of their social preferences. And so what I've learned is that, you know, I guess I'm an open-minded individual, and so I don't feel afraid to be involved or go around people in social settings that have, different types of relationships, as long as it's well within a respectable, situation where people are not, taunting who I am as a person or making me feel uncomfortable being around them. However, I have experienced some uncomfortability, and I don't know if I said that in older videos. Now, I guess in the way that this woman expressed herself in the video that she had put out on social media on Facebook Live, by the way, her name is, I believe it is Jane Waughfeild, and she calls herself the mayor, Jane Waughfeild, the mayor. On Facebook Live, she had a lot of social media posts. I believe it was on it. It had spread to Instagram and some other social media sites that a lot of people frequent. And so the police investigation is still, I believe, underway. It's a developing story about what had happened to this young woman who, I believe she's 40 and she was turning 41. And so she was murdered because she, I guess, had an altercation with a man that she had previous relationship with. She admitted that in the video, and that she saw him about to perform, or actually in the act of performing intercourse with a guy that he claimed to be his male cousin, which I thought that was really strange because, it's one thing to, if a person is gay and, but somebody you supposedly might be possibly related to, that's a whole nother ball game right there altogether. That took me back for a loop right there. But I don't know what people are going through. What I thought was very tragic is the fact that she made that chilling uh, social media post, and she basically outlined some of her hardcore experiences that she had in Indianapolis, and she seemed to be a pretty, how would you say, I guess she was either working or running a tire shop, and she seemed to be pretty independent. So I don't know all of the details. Maybe people who know her personally know more about her. But there was another video that surfaced about her, and she was actually in the tire shop, and she was at, or it looked like her place of business or work, mind you. So it just seemed really scary, and it was on my mind. I felt that I was going to make this opinionated video that, yeah, I understand she probably did have, to my understanding from what I viewed, she may have had some other enemies. So it makes it a little bit harder to pinpoint exactly who really wanted this woman to be murdered. But also what I'm realizing is that I feel like the person that she most had the most recent altercation with might have been more a fit of who possibly could have been her killer. And being it shows that she said that it had just happened not very long ago, where she saw these two males in the act, and then she, on top of that, said that if you wanted me to be quiet about it and not say anything to anybody about what I saw, you must pay up front $5,000. Now, what I notice is some people are putting videos out stating that she's the bad person, And this woman is now, she's deceased. She is dead. She was killed. She was shot. And from what I was looking at and observing is that the reason for the horrible car crash that she ended up in wasn't her, that they're right now investigating it. Allegedly, what they assume, the car crash in and of itself wasn't what killed her. It more than likely was the gunshot wound because she was shot at. But there were posts that she made that she had been shot at previously before this whole thing went down. And so she even showed a purse that she had in her car that was, um, displaying holes in it, and that she had been shot at several days before prior. And she also admitted to carrying a gun herself, which probably was her protection because she felt that somebody was out to get her. And then, two, if you listen to her and you listen to her dialogue and her verbiage on her post, she was pretty independent. She seemed pretty outspoken, and she seemed pretty, how would you say, she had her own personality that was very, what appeared to be very strong personality. And so she also, from what I got from the video, is that she definitely had other people that, felt threatened behind her. And in whatever multiple ways, maybe it was because of the fact that she was independent, maybe she was outspoken, maybe she was one of those kind of people that just tells whatever she has on her mind, she just tells it like how she sees it, and it offends people. And so this went a little too far, of course, by blackmailing or trying to tell these men that if you don't want me to say anything to people in our neighborhood or people in our circle that know us or know of you, then you must pay me $5,000. You're driving around in an expensive car. $5,000 is not that much money if you want me to be quiet. So it sounded like it was a hush money thing. And, which was a strong motive to begin with, to assume that one, if not one, both were involved in the shooting of this woman's untimely death. And so that's what I wanted to say about this. I don't know if anybody has seen this, young lady. So here's what it says: woman killed hours after exposing man as gay on Facebook Live. That's a report. And so here, what is it reading? It is reading: an Indiana woman who was shot and killed on Tuesday is believed to have live streamed herself exposing a closeted gay man hours before her death. So WTTV reported that Jane Waughfeild, 40 years of age, was shot near an intersection of Lafayette Road and West 30th Street in Indianapolis. So witnesses' accounts indicated that the Camaro that wounded the wounded woman was driving, then traveled at a speed of 90 to 100 miles per hour and hit a blue vehicle that was in front of it. So the following that incident, there was a multiple car collision, and a man in a blue vehicle reportedly walked to the Camaro and discovered Waughfeild unresponsive inside. And so it goes on to say, here it shows the video of Jane the Mayor Waughfield's last Facebook Live before she was murdered. So the coroner office has not yet released Waughfield's cause of death, meaning it's very unclear whether she died as the result of the shooting or a subsequent crash. So it could have been the both. You get shot and then you have this horrible crash. So boom, you're gone. So according to Wish, speculation has surfaced that her slaying is connected to a video that she posted to Facebook Live hours before her death. So as of Thursday, officials haven't publicly linked the Facebook Live broadcast to her death. So during the 17-minute video, Waughfeild claimed that she discovered a male friend having sex with another man. So she recounted telling the men to pay her 5,000 or 5 grand, and she would release that, or if they didn't, she would release their names. So later in that video, Waughfeild told her followers that she feared for her life. So she did say that in the video, and that was what was really chilling, because this happened just before she was killed, murdered, shot, to, So she said that if something should happen to her, one of the men she was trying to extort is responsible for this killing or possible killing. So she had claimed in the video that they looked at her and they came after her and they were going to kill her. And so later in that video, Waughfeild told her followers that she feared for her life. Okay, so they tried to kill me. They chased me out of the house, she said during the now deleted live stream. So if I die, let them people know that they killed me. So she already kind of foretold what was about to take place, or what possibly could have taken place. But this is the video. I'm not going to show the video, okay? Usually I do show videos, but this right here, it was just so chilling. So I'll leave it here so that you can look it up yourself. And if it's 17 minutes long, so if you want to hear the chilling, pretty much it says NSFW warning. The video below contains strong language which could be offensive to some viewers, so please use your own discretion. So I'm just letting you know that the video too looks like it could have been a possible confession of what was about to be the fate of this woman's death. And so this was very scary, that now we have social media that can basically out not only, people's embarrassing moments or things they feel insecure about, or they have a lot of insecurities, but not only that, the fact that this woman was threatening to out this guy, but the fact that she probably also outed her killers, who they were as killers. And so that's a possible motive. It's very scary that now we can look at these videos and see people. Recently we had videos of people committing suicide on Facebook Live, or they're committing rape, or they're committing abuse. But now you have this where people are extorting people, or either they're pretty much giving you a clue as to who possibly could have killed them and why it happened, leading up to the point before they get killed. And so that's what's so scary about these videos. And if you see videos like this, now the police can use them. They give really strong indicators of whom they're looking for, or what possibly could have happened or occurred to the person before they're murdered. And so it's just really scary. Very, very scary. So I guess it's like a haunting and chilling type of thing, where now social media gets caught up in unraveling these mysteries. And some of them aren't really mysteries, Some people have a strong uh, indication of what could have probably more than likely happened, which doesn't take too much investigative work. So this woman, basically, she not only put herself in a bad situation by extortion, but then not only that, she also outed the fact that she could possibly be targeted, and it was ruled that this allegedly was a targeting of her. And so it's just very scary. So I also seen some video footage of family members and friends who held up like public vigil for this lady, and they had pretty much expressed how they felt about her during her time here on Earth. And so I just thought this was really creepy. It creeped me out. It creeped me the hell out. Put it much that to be that way. It just I I can't say I haven't seen anything like this before, but let's say I haven't seen anything like this more recently than what I'm looking at right now. And so I don't know, just when I heard her talking in the video, I think that's what creeped me out, because it was like she basically was predicting her fate. Um, Having said this, I'm gonna let this video go. What are your thoughts about this? I know some people have been really sensitive about their relationships. The thing is that I will say this in her defense. um, I don't know what it is about these people that if you're a person that feels insecure about your your relationships and who you choose to partner with or have interludes with, what I don't get is what I've noticed is feels like you're in another world. And so let me be more specific. So I'm going to be careful too, because Santa Monica Boulevard in California pretty much is like Gay Boulevard. And let's just be real here. There are gay clubs, and most of it seems to be frequented by males. I'm not saying that females that are lesbian or females that are queer or other people of other backgrounds don't frequent those areas, and probably family members, people that are related to people who happen to be in the LGBT community. So no offense to people from that particular community. Just saying that before I go into this. This is more an open opinion. And I'll say it like that so I can be pretty much careful about how I address this. But from what my experience has been, it's like another world. How would I say? Just like when you go into a neighborhood that is riddled with poverty. Using this as a sort of a comparison. The only thing is it has to do with money, which that kind of plays into it as well, because, I'll go a little bit deeper with what I've known, is that, when you go on Santa Monica Boulevard, it doesn't look like a place of poverty. And it looks like it's frequented more by gay males, the gay male population. And like I was saying before I started talking about that, is that when you go in a neighborhood that is full of poverty and they have like a lack of resources, you feel it. Oh, there's not a lot of resources in this community. There's a lot of crime and there's a lot of despair. And then when you go in a community where there's more wealth, there's more resources, and people pretty much are living a lot more, better, and they have a lot of more community involvement, where a lot of money is being put back into the community. It shows. And so it's the same thing. The only thing that's slightly different is when you go to like West Hollywood or North Hollywood. West Hollywood, they call it WeHo, is what they call it. And so I know this thing happened in Indianapolis, but everywhere you go, there's a WeHo. Let's put it that way. There's a place where maybe the LGBT community frequents. It's more inclusive of that culture, uh, um, that particular group. Um, so there's always like clubs or things that are heavily frequent or have heavy foot traffic by that group. But what I've known, like in the West Hollywood, seems like some of the places that you go to eat, the stores, the venues, the storefronts, everything points out to people that are not really suffering financially. And I noticed that right away. That's what I picked up from driving up and down that area. The other thing that I've noticed is that if you're a woman, it's like, what are you doing here? If you're a woman. And what I learned about the gay community is that um, when people say LGBTQ, every letter in that group doesn't get along the same way. Like lesbians, I noticed I don't see as many lesbian clubs. It seemed like out here in California, you'd see more of those kind of clubs and gatherings in probably the 80s, maybe the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, early part of the 90s. But something happened to a lot of those clubs. You don't really see as much of that, and if you see that, it's by word of mouth. The younger people frequent it, and what happens is you got to get a flyer. If you go to one event, that's how you know where something else is going on. I know there's a Donna Shore, I believe is what it's called, a cruise ship event that happens, I think, once a year. Excuse me, correct me if I'm wrong. And that's primarily a lesbian cruise party ship or something like that. Then I know that there's other little gatherings like camping trips that the women will go to, or little gatherings, meetings. There's the LGBTQ centers in West Hollywood and in Hollywood, and then there's a Schrader Center where you can meet people, and you might go to meetings, frequent meetings, and then there's like websites, dating sites, apps, and different things like that. That's the way it's going now, it looks like. I don't really see women going so much to clubs, as often as they did. Seem like the earlier part of the 90s and the later part of the 80s, and then maybe, more of that was happening prior, but now the clubs seem to be more about, people that are of all these other backgrounds. If you've heard like what queer and then transgenders, and then you'll see a lot of that in, I was going to say, what's that street? It's in Hollywood. It's right by the Gay and Lesbian Center on Schrader. You'll see like there's a whole street where there's some transgender prostitutes. And I'm just being honest now. I'm not trying to say anything to offend anybody. It's what I've seen. A lot of times there in the transgender community, there's a lot of ostracization. So a lot of times it's hard for some of those people to find employment. I'm not saying everybody has the same experiences, but most of the times, majority end up going into prostitution, or they do like maybe strip clubs. And if you have the money to get surgery, and you have the money to get yourself altered to look more feminine, or take hormone shots, which can be extremely expensive, and also an uphill battle because there's a lot of emotional trauma that you go through being accepted in society. A lot of times there's abuse, there's sex trafficking, and there's also abuse of the transgender population. What I've noticed, a lot of times the last and most evil resort in and some of that is probably because if you're on hormones, you want to continue the hormones so that you can still have the female features. It takes money, so that a lot of times out of desperation, you'll find that some of those people in that circumstance will prostitute, and that's to get quick money and then also to survive because of ostracization. Um, Maybe they're not really accepted in the community or treated as, worse than. And so a lot of times it's a hustle, a struggle, and it's an uphill battle. And so that's what I've seen. That might explain why there's a lot of prostitution in with some of the transgender people, some of them. Then you'll see, if it's usually lesbian, it seems like they're, I found it to be like it's by word of mouth. It's, some people are more, you can see by mannerisms or maybe a way they wear their hair or a dress, but that doesn't tell you what everyone is involved in, or who they might be, who their preferences are, because some women don't look like, they're not dressed up in a butch way. They may be more feminine, but still lesbian, so there's a lot of stuff that I've seen over the years, and I'm just being honest. But I've also experienced too, what I've noticed is that there's a little hierarchy even in that group. Like a class, you can distinguish people who are gay and poor from those who have money. And so if you don't have any money, there was even a documentary, and a guy who was black guy who was gay said that for a time they would have these clubs that would only be frequented by gay white males, and they usually had money. And that's what I sense when I've driven up and down Santa Monica Boulevard. There's this snootiness, and it's because of class and because of having money and coming from a different socio economical class. Even though you both may be gay males, if one has money and the other doesn't, or the other is white and the other is black, you're put in a different category, even though you both share the same preferences in terms of sexuality. You might be gay men. So I noticed there's a lot of different things in that LGBTQ, that where everybody doesn't always tend to get along, or they have different experiences that are set apart from one another. So all of those LGBTQ, those letters are not synonymous, is what I'm saying. They're not the same. We tend to link everybody together as one big group because they share a commonality, is what we assume, that, it's the gay community, because that might be the easiest way to identify people without being offensive. But lesbians are a lot different than gay males, and their venues might be slightly different, and people who are queer might attribute to something a little different. People who are transgender have a whole nother experience that is a lot different than someone that is just a gay male, and he's just a man that claims that he's gay, and he's not getting a sexual reassignment surgery, or he's not taking hormones. He's just a man that prefers to have a relationship with another male. So it can get pretty, complicated for people who are on the outside that don't really know, or haven't really had any people friends, or have not been around in a society or a group that has heard or have friends that have had these experiences, which I've had friends, people that I've known that have had these experiences. And so that's where I'm coming from with this. So, having said that, I know that that goes far beyond what happened to this woman, but I understand why. When she talks in her social media post, she said, "My stomach hurts, my stomach hurts." I'll just say what I heard that she said. She says, "Oh my God, I seen this gay bird with my own two eyes." And so I'm gonna respond to that. What I've known is that some women who, I guess maybe they thought that this was just a trend, or it was a fad, or it was just a hearsay type thing. There's no real thing with these attractive guys that are attracted to other guys. Yes, it is true. There are guys that are dating other men. And so I just think that what shocked her is to see it with her own eyes, that she had never seen anything like that before. You hear, like she said in her post, you hear about a bunch of stuff, but you never actually experience it until you see it with your own two eyes. And so she was bearing witness to something she had never seen before, and it took her back. And so, what also I believe took her by surprise is that the very same man that she had not very long ago had a relationship or friendship with and had an encounter with herself, had she caught him in the act of having an encounter with a male. So her mind instantly went back to when she was having a sexual encounter with him. What was he thinking? What was he doing? Why would he do that? I'm going to say this. There are also bisexual people, people who have intercourse with not only males but also females. And so you got to include that in there, that there are some men and women who will not only be attracted to the opposite sex but to the same gender as well. And so um, it's a lot of stuff going on, put it that way. And so, Sue, I believe what bothered her a lot is that she felt that she couldn't trust this guy, that he hid who his true self was. And so I want to say something about that. There are a lot of people who won't come to be honest about who they are. And you don't have to be somebody that is a closeted gay person. You could be somebody that is straight and doesn't tell about your sexual past, your sexual history. If you encounter somebody and you're going to have a personal relationship with them, a lot of times people, when the HIV thing was really big before they got all this medicine, that was the big issue. People being honest and telling who they had been with and how many partners they had, how many sexual partners they had. And so this kind of ties into it, because a lot of people won't share that, oh, I'm straight, but sometimes or in my past, um, uh, I've had group sex, or I was very promiscuous, or I was raped, and I don't know I never went and got myself checked, or some people, what I heard in the past, they used to criminalize people for this. Now I think it's shot down to a misdemeanor because of the Trump administration, is that when you knew that you were HIV positive, you were supposed to disclose that information to someone whom you were going to get involved with and have sexual intercourse. But a lot of people were afraid to say that they had tested positive, so they were, I believe, it was mandatory that you had to register or something. You had to give, the doctor had to have this information in it. It was listed who tested positive, and it was for the safety of the public, so that people can't just go out and have sex with people and expose them to these viruses, because there's no cure for them. Now, with the technology we have, there's medicine so that people can live longer. It used to be they didn't have that medicine, and you get HIV, you ultimately knew that you're waiting, possibly you wouldn't live very long. maybe 10 years at the most, or maybe less than 10 years, depending on your immune system if it was compromised. Because it's not the HIV that kills you per se, it just breaks down your immune system to where it's so low that you could succumb to pneumonia, you could just succumb to a lot of different things. And that's it ultimately what kills you. But the thing is, it's crazy because a lot of people don't tell the truth. I mean, did you see that thing that happened with Usher about the herpes thing, where he had gotten in a real bad situation with some young lady, and she sued him because he lied about his sexual history that he gave her and another woman, I believe, herpes or something or other like that. And herpes is a virus. Um, the thing with herpes is you don't die of herpes. It can go dormant, it incubates. Sometimes people don't have as big of a deal with herpes as they do. Um, you know, they do have medication for it to control it, so you have less outbreaks. I read a lot about different medicines and different viruses and things like that. And so look at this, what's happening right now. We live in a world now where everybody's going to get this virus, possibly, and many people have died of it. It's the coronavirus. And so that's not a sexual thing. That's something that's traveled through respiratory tract, like droplets in the you could leave it on counter surfaces. So I know this goes far along, but people do not tell the truth. And so this woman was shocked because she caught this guy who, think about it, he touched you at one time, but he didn't tell you that he not only touches women, but he touches men. So there's a lot of guys like that, and so for that reason, I think there's a big breakdown of trust. And now she's African American, and I'm assuming this guy, and from what I saw in the photo, he's African American. In the black community, a lot of things like that having to do with the gay, revealing that you're gay is a very, very taboo, still even to this day, taboo for some people, because it means your friends, your family, your neighborhood, and what you represent. And if you represent this hardcore, I'm a tough guy, and all of a sudden you come out and you tell everybody that you're gay, then what does that do for you, your credibility and who you are? So people look at you differently then. And so, too, you might get attacked. And so that's the reason why she did what she did. It wasn't a good thing. But also on top of that, he didn't do a good thing either. These people, these killers, that are on the loose, that should have people shaking in their boots right now who live in that community, is that there are not maybe one or could be two murderers involved in this woman's death, riding around in that community, and they see these posts, they see all of these confessions, they see this lady, she basically outed not only them being gay, but possibly a strong indicator of who her killers could have been. And so these people are riding around amongst the people out there. They should be afraid. Afraid. Do you hear me? They should be afraid of that alone. Thinking, they have not caught these people and they gunned this lady down. So that's why I was saying that these relationships like this are very sensitive. I don't know if anybody, I might be telling my age, but there was some years ago back, there used to be a club out here in Los Angeles. It was called Catch One. And it was a club that was frequented by gay people. And it has a history, it had a history. Now, since then, it's no longer the club that it used to be. But it was owned by a woman who's a lesbian. She was the one that ran the whole place. And so it had a history. And so there was one incident where these two women had gotten a big altercation because the woman went on a night. She went to this club where it was like a lesbian club at the time. It had different nights that it was designated to whatever group. And so if it was drag queen night, then that was what was there. If it was lesbian night, that was what was there. If it was, all everybody come night, that was what was there. So it was one of those nights where it was an all women thing. And so this woman, I guess she had a girlfriend, to what I heard. And so the girlfriend was very, very, how would you say, jealous. And so she was one of those type of women that carried a gun. And so she went to the club looking for her girlfriend and found her there and shot her because she assumed that she was looking for someone else to sleep with at the club. And so I don't know if it went on to the news. Back then, I don't think we had the social media we do now. But I never forgot that. I was like, wow, that is crazy, So it was talked about around the neighborhood and everything. And so I don't know if they ever caught the woman that did it, but it's sort of similar, that you got this murderer running around. I think you should be afraid of that because it's only a matter of time when somebody else will do something that'll piss these people off and they'll gun them down or do something and they wind up having a shootout. And so it sounds like Indianapolis, they're on the map now. I didn't know it was that violent. And then I saw this post about Indianapolis that it has a history of where there's some violence on the streets in certain parts out there. So now I'm being made aware of this. But everywhere you go, there's something. Nowhere is completely safe. Even in the nice, quote unquote, nice neighborhoods, there's always something. You go find something, tragedy or something somewhere. So, but this was creepy as hell, y'all. I just could not. I don't know. I looked at it. I looked at it again, and I said, no way. And I'm like thinking these people, instead of like berating this lady, she's already gone now. She cannot talk for herself. She basically talked for herself before knowing that she could possibly be taken out. And that's exactly what happened. And that's what's so creepy about the video that lady made is that she pretty much predicted her fate. And so having said that, I'm going to let this video go with that. I am creeped out by that video. I don't know how anybody could see this woman speak in her video and not find this very chilling. But it tells a lot. It really does. And what times we're living in, that you can look on social media and see a death before it happens. It's pretty much predicted. You can see murderers on social media and they are like not even hiding it anymore. You got people who will actually post their crimes on social media with no fear. So it is scary, scary stuff. But I'm going to let this video go. What do you think about this? It's so creepy, y'all. I am creeped out by this. But anyway, thanks for listening.